Hey, if you're a landlord in the London borough of Hounslow, listen up. There's a really specific licensing question that could save you a ton of trouble. Today, we're going to break it all down. Okay, so let's jump right into the scenario. Picture this. You've got a property in Hounslow, and you're about to rent it out to 3 students. Great, right? But here's the catch. 2 of them are brothers, and the third is their cousin. So the big question is, does this setup make your property a house in multiple occupation, an HMO? And, the even bigger question, do you need to get a license for it? All right, let's get straight to it. The good news? The short answer is no. You do not need an HMO license in this specific situation. So you can breathe a little sigh of relief. But let's break down exactly why your property is exempt, because the why is super important. Okay, it all boils down to this one little legal phrase: single household. See, because your tenants are all related, the law, specifically the Housing Act of 2004, doesn't see them as 3 separate individuals. Nope, it sees them as one single family unit. And that is the absolute key to why you're exempt. So you're probably wondering, what exactly does the law mean by a single household? Let's unpack that definition, because it's broader than you might think. And this is where it gets really interesting. The definition is surprisingly broad. We're not just talking about parents and their kids. The law includes siblings, aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces. And here's the crucial part for our scenario. It explicitly includes cousins. Legally speaking, they are all considered one single family unit. This little chart here just lays it all out perfectly. Look at the left side. That's you. You've got 2 brothers and their cousin. The law sees that as one single household, so no HMO license required. Simple. Now look over on the right. That's your typical HMO. 3 or more people who are unrelated. They're considered separate households, and that's when the licensing rules kick in. Your situation, you're squarely on the safe side, over on the left. Okay, I know what you might be thinking right now. Hang on a second, they're students. Aren't all student houses HMOs? And look, that's a totally fair assumption. It's a common one. But in the eyes of the law, it's crystal clear. The family relationship takes precedence. It completely overrides their student status. Think of it this way. Family connection first, student status second. All right, so you're in the clear. That's fantastic. But, and this is a big but, how do you actually prove it if the council comes knocking on your door? Just knowing it isn't enough. You need to have your ducks in a row. So let's talk about building that crucial legal paper trail. This is super practical. There are really 3 key things you need to do. Number 1, use a single joint tenancy agreement that covers all 3 of them. Don't, whatever you do, give them separate contracts for each room. Number 2, you've got to include a specific clause inside that agreement where they all confirm their family relationship. And number 3, if you want to be extra safe, kind of belt and braces, get them to sign a separate, simple declaration stating that relationship. You do these 3 things, and you've got the solid evidence you need. So what does that clause actually look like? Well, here's an example of the kind of wording you'd want to use. You want it to say something exactly like, the tenants confirm that they form a single household as defined by the Housing Act 2004, and then, this is the important bit, you spell it out, specifically that John and Peter are brothers and Sarah is their cousin. Putting their names and the relationship right there in black and white leaves absolutely 0 room for interpretation. Okay, so we're talking a lot about paperwork here. You might be thinking, is it really that big of a deal? Well, let me be very, very clear about the stakes here. The risk of getting this wrong, especially in a borough like Hounslow, is, well, it's huge. Yeah, £30,000. That's not a typo. That's the potential civil penalty, the fine, for operating an unlicensed HMO in Hounslow. It's a number that definitely gets your attention, right? And it's exactly why you cannot afford to just assume everything will be okay. And honestly, the risk goes way beyond just that big, scary fine. See, operating an unlicensed HMO is what's called a strict liability offense. That basically means I didn't know is not a defense. Your intentions don't matter. On top of that, Hounslow Council is really proactive. They use data to actively hunt for properties that aren't compliant. And get this, their officers don't even need to give you notice before showing up for an inspection anymore. And the final nail in the coffin, the burden of proof, it's all on you. It's up to you, the landlord, to prove you're doing everything by the book. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit. We've talked a lot about this very specific HMO question. But to finish up, let's just run through the essential compliance checklist. This is the stuff you need to have sorted for any tenancy in Hounslow, not just this one. Seriously, think of this as your landlord toolkit. It's non-negotiable. You've got to provide the latest how to rent guide, a current guest safety record, an EPC, and an electrical report. Taking a deposit? Then you have to provide the deposit protection certificate and all the info that goes with it. And a couple of Hounslow-specific ones. You have to display your contact details in the property and provide written information about waste collection. And of course, the foundation of it all, a proper written tenancy agreement. Getting all this right from day one is just essential. So, let's wrap it all up with this final thought. All this paperwork, all these documents, I know it can feel like tedious bureaucracy, but it's not. It's your shield. It's what protects you from inspections, from tenant disputes, and from those, frankly, terrifying fines. So the question you really have to ask yourself is this: is your paperwork shield strong enough?